Our ancestors knew how to initiate men, but we forgot. This is for the husbands and fathers ready to lead their families, hold their marriages, and build something that outlives them. My name is Thomas Eberts, and this is the Integrated Father Podcast. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Integrated Father Podcast. Today I have an amazing guest called Jon Hord. He's the founder of The Engaged Father, a project to help fathers spend more quality time with their children and find the way on how to do that and how to find the overlap with their careers. Meaning, how do I navigate my career while being the best dad I can for my children? Welcome, Jon Hord.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tomas. It's awesome to be here, and I do appreciate the opportunity.
Cool, sweet. Jon, I want to start right into the good stuff. I believe that at the end of the day, our value that we bring into the world comes from the story that we have lived. So I really want to kind of like start before the engaged father, before what you do with the engaged father, and get an understanding who was Jon Hord before the engaged father, and what kind of led you into doing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I feel like I was on this sort of career or life in a box sort of a thing, like the American dream. I think it gets referred to a lot, where for me, that looked like, going to school as a kid, you get good grades. You go to college, you get good grades. You graduate and you go get a job and you work real hard to get promoted. And the goal is to move up and make more money and get more responsibility, with the promise that eventually you'll be happy and content and fulfilled on this journey. And, I spent about 18 years, in a corporate setting. Started working for a company. I started part-time in the art department. My college choice, I went to art school. And it was really intense and demanding. And I had decided, at the end of high school, that I wanted to have a different kind of career path. I didn't want a traditional sort of business career path. And so I went to art school and graduate. Got a job as a part-time graphic designer, and then full-time for that company, and started running the graphic design department, and then, got some promotions, and then eventually was offered a position within the company that didn't have a creative role. It was more of a standard business role, but it was in this highly sought after department. That it was an opportunity to be a brand manager, and you get to go on cool trips. And of course, more money, and the fact that it was exclusive and sought after, that felt cool, to the ego part of me as well. It's all right, cool. I get to be one of those people. And so I switched from doing something that was kind of fulfilling, very fulfilling on the creative side, into a standard business role. And so there was a fork in the road there. And then, a couple promotions later, now I'm the vice president of our IT department. There's over 600 people at this company. I'm the vice president of our IT department in another project management team. I have no IT background. So I was actually put in this role to manage the transition of the main IT guy that basically created everything. He was going to be retiring, and they wanted to hire somebody else and do a 12-month training and transition. And they trusted me to oversee, the handing off of that role. I took all of the pressures that come along with IT on my shoulders. It's okay, there's now critical infrastructure with the company, to where if it breaks, all eyes are looking at me. The owner of the company and the CEO of the company are going to be calling me and saying okay, things are broken. When will they be fixed? And to be in that role and to not have past experience with how to handle IT problems, it was a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety that I was putting on myself, because I cared so much about my job. And I cared so much about my job because my job had the power and the authority to promote me, which that to me was the approval that I was seeking. Because at this point in my
Good
career,
one.
I've got a couple kids, and I was without knowing it, I was tying my value as a father to my ability to earn an income and to provide, an incredible lifestyle for my family. So it's like the more money I can make, the better of a father I am, is what I was telling myself without knowing it. And I continued to do that until I got to a point where like the stress and the anxiety were causing, creating such an impact for me that like I couldn't ignore it, right?
What
Like
did that impact look like?
ultimately a panic attack, like I had never experienced one before. And so like to lose like physical control of your body, and like to have something like stress and anxiety and overwhelm like actually make it to the point where like your body's not functioning like it normally does, like that's a hell of a wake up call.
Yeah.
Especially when I hadn't experienced that before, and I didn't know anybody that had either. And so that was a very clear signal that I couldn't just brush off.
So
And
what
like
happened then? So what did you do with that signal? Like, how was it received, and then what did you make of it? And how did you interpret so from what I'm hearing is that the pressure you had in your job and running from promotion after promotion and tying your worth as a father to the amount of money you bring home and the lifestyle you provide ultimately got you to the point where there was so much pressure, stress, and anxiety on you that your body folded, you went into a panic attack, and that was a wake-up call. That was a signal. So what I want to understand now is, what did that signal you, and what did you make of it?
Yeah, well, it's like somebody waving a flag in front of you and saying like, okay, you can't ignore this. Like, because leading up to that point, I had stress and tension, and I went and saw the doctor and started, anti-anxiety medication. And, this wasn't the first signal, but it was such a big signal that I couldn't ignore this one, or I couldn't say like, well, lots of people take medicine for stress and anxiety. So it was so jarring that it forced me to reevaluate. And it's not like everything changed like right there in that moment, but like this was such a big addition to like the mounting, like the increasing pile of evidence, that it was like, okay, I really need to start thinking about like, is this worth it? Like, is it whatever toll it's taking on my body? Is it worth it? Is it worth it on the toll it's taking to me, like mentally and emotionally? Because like when I started exploring all that, it's like, well, all right, let's be honest with ourselves. Like, am I being the dad that I want to be for my kids? No. Like I was pushing like way too hard. I was getting frustrated like when kids would do things that were challenging but age appropriate. And like I was this, generally like very happy and positive person. That's who I am. But the stress and the anxiety that I was carrying forced me, like that stress was always like just barely under the surface. And so something would happen, and like that stress would kind of find a way to break through. And now like I'm having an oversized reaction to something else that happened. And like my kid does a small thing, like I said, age appropriate, but still frustrating, like still challenging, but like they're getting a reaction that's got like, 6 months of work stress. IT software upgrade stress and anxiety is now coming out now because I had a 4-year-old that did something that 4-year-olds do. So I was able to see that, and I was like, okay, I'm not the dad that I want to be, that I know that I can be for my kids. And once I saw that, I was like, okay, how about me as a husband for my wife? Like, how am I doing there? And it was similar, right? Like, again, like I've always been like a good and well-intentioned person, but I could see things where it's like, that's not who I want to be. And so I was in this position where it's like, okay, like, what do I want to do? Like, do I want to stay the course? This is the course that you've been working toward for almost 2 decades now. Like the one that you've convinced yourself would make you happy. And like within the company, like the job was as secure as any job could be for me. like I was on the senior leadership team and I was going on like private trips with the owner of the company. It's like I was in, man. Like and anybody from the outside looking in at me and my situation was like, oh, he's got it figured
I
out.
want to be
like,
you. Yeah.
yeah. And that feels nice, Tomas. Like that soothes the pain, which is messed up, right? Like I'm hurting inside, but I can ease some of that pain because I can tell myself that somebody else is jealous of what I have. Like what a weird twist
Yeah.
like that I was doing. And I'm not alone in that, I'm sure. But you know, things like that, like the being able to do exclusive things like would kind of get me through the hard times to get to like the next thing. Cause like
Right.
those things,
Yeah.
they would be fun and they'd be gratifying and they would feel good. So I was like fighting through these hard times to get to these moments. Like, but in all reality, like those good points weren't fulfilling. They felt good in
Yeah.
the moment, but it wasn't like true and
Yeah.
lasting happiness or fulfillment for me.
Okay. Man, so much good stuff. So, so panic attack was a big signal. It started change where you started thinking about like, yo, am I the dad? Am I the father that I actually want to be? And then you started reflecting on these things and you saw like, whoa, my children, they do age appropriate, frustrating things and they get a 6-month amplified stress reaction. They're like, yo, dad, where the F is that coming from? Like, wow, like, man, that doesn't feel good to me. Like, why am I on the other end of receiving your stress that you have at work because you choose to be the edified senior leadership guy that is like the big guy and brings the money home? Okay. And then you said another thing that really piqued
Tomas,
my...
can I jump in?
Yeah.
Because I want to, as you were saying that, and I think you're totally justified in everything that you just said. But as I was listening to you and you're putting yourself in the shoes of my kids and like, whoa, where's this coming from? And maybe that was their thought. But what if their thought was, this is what parents do? Because they don't even have the context to know that this isn't normal. So I think what I'm teaching them in those moments is this is how you handle stress. And like, this is okay. My dad, like, and when you're young, like there's all sorts of like, you know, neuroscience that talks about like a young brain and how like what it sees like gets written as truth. Like there's
Yep.
no discerning part of
Yep.
the brain. It comes online around like the age of 7. So if you're dealing with someone that's younger than that, what they're seeing is true to them. And so
Yep.
how messed up is it that my examples in those moments is their example of how a dad handles stress and conflict by blowing up and lashing out or like emotionally shutting down or all of these other things that I'm sure that I was doing. Like that's their manual for how to be a parent. And like,
Yeah.
I'm smiling as I say it because I've come so far from that now that I can smile, but like it hurts. It hurts me inside to know that there were those moments in time where I was showing up that way and how they must have felt in those moments, scared. Like, here's dad, like he's my safety figure and he's super frustrated right now and they don't even understand why. And so it's that's hard to think about, but I bring all of that up and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's important to point out that what we're doing as fathers with our actions, because our kids learn way more from what they see and feel than they do from what we tell them with our mouth. That whether we realize it or not, we're teaching them what it means to be a dad. And so our actions will ripple forward in future generations, whether we realize it or not. And so there is an opportunity. And that's the beautiful part of all this. And like, that's a lot of what like gives me this incredible drive to do what I do, is because like the work that we can do with other dads can outlive us. Like it can impact generations that won't ever share this earth as the same time as us. Like, And we can do that now. And that sort of like potential and like optimism for me is so incredible. And like, and honestly, like that's that's what I try to offer people. It's like, hey, like we can make real changes that you're going to feel like immediately within your household and within yourself. And that's great. And it's worth it just in that. But how cool is it to think that you could be the person that breaks like this generational cycle of how we handle stress or conflict or what it means to be a dad, and you could be making an impact that will be felt generations from now. It's like I bring all of this up, and this was a very long-winded interruption, but I don't think enough dads look at fatherhood through that frame. And when you do, I think it changes the game.
Legacy. It's the legacy that we leave behind. The legacy, not in the superstitious meaning of like how much money did we make and how many assets did we build and how much land do we have and how much real estate we do. Legacy in a way of like, what is the footprint that we leave behind for our future generations, for our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren? What's the foundation that we build as fathers for them to understand, for our sons to understand what is a great father, for our daughters to understand who should I choose as a husband later on. And then the third thing is what I want to dive in next is the impact of everything that you have been going through at work, panic attacks, etc., on your relationship with your wife. Because at the end of the day, yes, children are, and my audience is there, right? They have children and they are husbands. So I want to understand what was because you said like, oh, I was asking myself the question, am I showing up the way I want to show up with my wife? And you said like, no. So I want to understand a little bit, what was that like? What was the impact on your wife and your marriage?
Well, so I am in an incredibly fortunate situation with my wife. One, because of who she is, but two, because of what she does for work. So she's a psychotherapist. And so she's able to see the underlying pain that causes surface level reactions in me. And I'm so thankful for that, because I think most people, they focus on the surface level interactions and they see that as like, I don't deserve that. Like, that's not okay. And she would see things as like, he's hurting and I don't want him to hurt anymore. And so my wife through this whole journey has been as supportive as a partner could ever be. Because like, fast forward, I'm skipping ahead to the end of the story. I'm not at that job anymore. And I walked away from an incredible salary, and she never, and I'm serious, not one time did she ever question like how we would make things work financially. She works as well. And she makes a good living, but like we had to make real changes within the household. And we knew that when I was going to be walking away from that job, but she's like, we'll figure it out. Like, we'll make changes where we need to make changes. But like, she's like, your happiness and like your peace means way more than money. And I want you to be happy. And it's like, I feel like I hit the lottery in that regard. And I'll be honest, I struggle to think that I would have handled it with the level of grace in which she did with me. I think I would have struggled with the giving up of the money if she said that she wanted to do that. So I say that as a sincere compliment to her and who she is and how she navigated all of that. I think it's incredibly rare. So yeah. I'm in a unique situation there.
Good one though. I appreciate sharing that, because what at the end of the day, what that underlines is how important it is to have teamwork present to be able to become the father that we actually want to be and the dad that we want to be, because we are not doing this alone, right? We do have a co-pilot that flies with us. So that is a beautiful reflection and right there. Okay, so cool. So let's fast forward a little bit. We went kind of like through the pain, the challenge, the breaking of like, yo, what was happening before the engaged father? Now we're at the point where you left the company, you gave up the salary and the income, and what then? What happened? How did you quit? Like, did you just walk in boldly and say, this is not what I want to do, I'm gonna go do this? Or how did that work? Get me into the moment there.
Yeah, so I didn't blindside them with this news. Like that, I was honest with them, and they knew that I was struggling with some of this stuff. So when I finally went to them and said, hey, I think I need to make a big life change that involves me, not working in this role anymore. They tried to find creative solutions with, finding other roles for me within the company. And they ultimately said like, hey, like, just what if you took some time away to go clear your head and make a final decision from a clear space instead of whatever it is that you're feeling now. And I didn't even know that was an option. So they said like, take 1 to 3 months off and we'll figure things out here on our side, it was incredible. And so, I 8 weeks into that, so 2 months into the 3 months, I'm sitting on my back deck and I'm just thinking like, which path do I go? Like the secure one that has like a vacation home and a boat and a sports car, or like this other one, which is a complete unknown. And I'm not this sort of entrepreneurial spirit, or I would tell people back then that I wasn't. And I remember saying the words like, oh, I could never run my own business because I have to know where my next paycheck is coming from. I was like a big security person. So like the one path is like so secure, and then the other one is like 0% secure. And so I'm sitting on my back deck, sun shining, and I put myself onto my deathbed scenario. And I'm looking back on this moment in time, on the present day. And I'm like, what will that person that's got a couple days left, what would he be the most proud of? For me, it's hard to say. It brings up emotions just thinking about it. What would he be proud of? That I made a big pile of money and I get to leave this monetary legacy with my family, and we took expensive trips and things like that. Or this other one, which is where I branch out and I do my own thing, and I coach people and I support people. Because when things were really hard for me when I was at my other job, I found a coach, like kind of accidentally. I wasn't seeking one out. I went onto YouTube and did a search for a meditation to help with stress and anxiety, and found one and listened to it, and it was really helpful. And at the end of the call, he put his website up there. And are you okay if I mention his name?
Yeah, of course.
Name is Coach. Yeah, his name is David Ellzey, Ellzey, and he specializes in the Sedona method. And so at the end of the meditation, his website flashes up there, and I go and I check it out, and I see that he does like free 30-minute consultations. And I was like, whoa, like I can talk to this person that like just helped me through this moment. I was like, I got to do that. And so I did, and we spoke, and he is one of the, he seriously is one of the most incredible people that I've ever had the chance of meeting, knowing, talking to, working with, whatever. He is such a beautiful soul. And so if anybody is hearing this, and I would say I think he's typically like pretty booked up now, but the Sedona method it focuses on letting go and like using a lot of presence and awareness to really acknowledge like whatever is happening in that moment. And through these like incredible questions and exercises that he'll walk people through, like you just end up feeling like that 2-ton weight that's on your chest, like it dissolves, and it's incredible. And so I had the incredible experience of working with a coach. And so with these two paths that I was sitting there thinking about on the back deck of my house, the one is to stay in my professional career and the other one is to go be a coach, because I had been a coach. And I was like, how cool would it be? Excuse me, if I said I had been a coach, I had been coached. And I was thinking to myself, how cool would it be to be able to support people the way that I was supported? And I knew that I loved being in that coaching space where it's just like this unique like container of like pure human presence and in connection, where it's just like it's so different than anything else that I'd ever experienced. And it felt amazing to like share that space with another human being. I was like, I love that. I was like, oh, and I can pay my bills while doing it. I was like, okay. Like, you know, the version of me that's on my deathbed that has a couple days left, he says, Jon, you got to go try this. And if it doesn't pan out and you got to go get another 9-to-5 job somewhere, you're hireable. You've got plenty of skills and experience. You can go get another square job if you need to. And that happened. And
how long was that ago? How long was that a moment ago?
I left that job about 2.5 years ago. So left that job, got enrolled in a coaching certification program, which was like really sort of like deep and transformational. It was about a 9-month process. And then I come out on the other side, I'm a certified coach. And it's like, okay, like who am I going to coach? And at first I was a success coach. And so I was going to, you know, work with like young up and coming professionals and to help them like whatever sort of happiness that they were delaying for later in their life when they retire. And like, you know, we expect all of this magic to happen, like whatever happiness they're waiting for then, like let's pull that forward so you can also have some of that in your life now. And I started down that path and had some clients and was getting paid. And one of my friends that I went through the coaching program with, she sent me an email. Her name's Jenny. She's a beautiful human. And she said, hey, Jon, I was vacuuming the house and I had a thought. And I wonder if it's okay if I share it with you. I was like, Jenny, of course. And so we set up a call. And she said, Jon, when we were going through that coaching program, because like you get really close with these people that you're around, you're sharing things that you know, haven't shared. And like you really form this unique relationship with them. And she said, Jon, I don't know if you like were aware of this, but throughout the whole process, and you're talking about these changes that you want to make within yourself, she's like, it always came back to you wanting to change for the benefit of your kids. And she's like, I know that you're an incredible dad. And she's like, what if you just helped other dads like make these same type of changes for themselves? Like these dads that are out there, you know, hurting or just knowing that like that they could be doing better, but they just can't really figure out how. And so, and she's like, oh, and by the way, I have a history as an educator and I've built out programs before. So if you want some help, like putting a framework together, we could do that. I was like, yeah, let's do that. And so we did, we had that conversation, we brainstormed it and it was going to be group coaching. It was like, cool. I love this. I'm going to set it off to the side. And whenever I want to get into group coaching, this thing's ready and I can just kind of pick it up. And it was like 2 weeks later, I was doing some work on my computer and it really was like just a light bulb moment, like this moment of just intense clarity for me, where it was like, that's the thing. Like that is what I want to do. That is what I'm here to do. And I tell people like to this day that I've found my calling. Like I feel this incredible sense of alignment and purpose in what I'm doing. And it's like, this is what I was put here to do. And to be able to not only say that, but to like feel how true that is. Like it's it's pretty special. I feel really fortunate.
Wow. What's most present to me is that you studied art. And with art, oftentimes comes a fulfillment and expression of the soul and the spirit. with most of them. For example, when I see my wife doing art, it's an expression of her heart, of her soul. And and you saying now, like, I found my calling, I found my like, I've found something that fulfills me entirely, like that. Yeah, it just makes me think of you studying art, and sort of like the first sign of that your spirit and that your soul wanted to like really come through, and then you ended up in a square company, putting yourself from all the way from graphic design into VP of IT, which is the exact opposite.
It is. It
Right?
totally is.
And then your body broke absolutely together to say, like, John, yo, get your shit together. Let's do what we were supposed to do here. And you go and take 3 months off. And month 2, your spirit is like, yo, just go express yourself, and I've got your back. We're gonna do this. And yeah, and now you're here with the engaged father, helping other fathers with all that you have to offer and everything that you have learned as a father. So with that being said, I would love to know from you, get a little bit actionable. What are the 3 things when we look at your clients that you work with, the people that you maybe coach for free on webinars, or your school group that you have? I'm sure there's a lot of content that goes out there, or your YouTube, Instagram, etc. What do you see are the 3 most actionable things that you typically advise on, consult on, or coach on, where you see like, oh, these are the ones that make the biggest impact in my clients' lives?
Well, first and foremost, it's working with a father to help them get clarity on the type of dad that they want to be, because it's most of the time dads, especially ones that are, professionals and working in corporate careers, like they've got career goals and they've got financial goals, but almost no one has a clear goal on the type of dad that they want to be, other than, I want to be a good dad. To which I say, okay, what does a good dad mean? Right? Like that just gets kind of passed around. Like, oh yeah, him, he's a good dad. Okay. So what does a good dad mean? And like, is good truly good enough? Like when it comes to being a father, like I think and I believe that being an incredible father is like my number one responsibility that I get to do with my time on this earth. And is good enough for that? And for me, it's not. And so, and I even kind of like to make the joke, like, and I'll just ask you, Tomas, like on a 1 to 10 scale, if I ask you to assign like a numerical value that aligns with the word good, like what number would you give it between 1 and 10?
What's the like?
Like one is like terrible and 10 is perfect. Like what number rating would you give to the word good?
6 or 7.
Okay. I'm right there with you. I think the exact same numbers. So we can say 60 or 70%. Like, so that's a D or a C in like the school grading scale. Like, and I'm being like a little bit silly with it, but like, is good really good enough? And if that's the goal for a lot of dads, is to be a good dad, there's such an incredible opportunity to get crystal clear on the type of dad that you want to be. And not only the type of dad, but like why? Because like once you have that target in mind, like now you get to start working backwards from that. And then it's like, okay, like what am I doing on a daily basis that supports that end goal? And like that is where we start being intentional with our actions. We're doing this because we want our kids to feel this, because we want to be a dad that embodies this. And like, once you can see like how those things are connected, like it's way easier to like enter a moment. Like, let's say things are just like neutral and quiet at your house. And it's like, okay, what do I want to do right now? It's like, oh, I have these like 3 core qualities. I'll do something that aligns with that. It's like the answers to the test. And, or like things are really hard and there's like it's conflict and stress and tension within the house, and like, you know, we're having a moment where we're like kind of boiling over as a dad, like to be able to fall back on one of those three things, it's like, okay, like take a breath. I remember that these three things were really critical to me when it comes to being a good dad. I'm going to pick one of those three things to like, I'm going to run that play right now in this moment of really challenging circumstances with my kid. And so it really, it's like giving us the answers to the small moments. And it it's life changing. Like,
What were your three what were your three qualities in terms of the qualities you wanted to dial in on a daily with your children?
safe, seen, and supported.
Can you expand a little bit on all three?
Yeah, I want my kids to feel like unconditionally loved and safe with me as their father. And that might play out like where they know that they can tell me anything. And my daughter's 13, and the things that she shares with me, I feel so fortunate because she's so open and honest with me, especially being the age that she is, and like everything that's changing around, you know, in her world at school, and like with her just being a 13-year-old girl, like there's so many things that are changing, and like I've done the work and she feels safe around me, and like that's paramount to me. To feel seen is I want my kids to feel like they are a valued member of the family, right? It's not mom and dad and like these little kids that need to fall in line. Like I use like the metaphor or the analogy of like, I don't want to be like the bonsai tree master where I'm like pruning. Cause like when you make a bonsai tree, like you'll use wires to like train the branch to like go this way. And then if it starts to grow one direction that like doesn't fit your vision, is the bonsai master, you trim it and you prune it. And like you force this thing to grow in the direction that meets your vision of beauty. I don't want to be that type of parent. Like and to kind of continue the plant metaphor, like I want to be the sun and the water and the soil. And I want to give them everything that I can that like lets them grow in the direction that they want to grow. And even knowing that like that can change over time. And like, I want to be there, and I want them to just feel like they are truly a part of this family. And supported, you know, it kind of goes along with that one, which is where I want them to know for the rest of their lives that I've got their back. And there, you know, life is hard, right? Like there's challenges that we experience when we're kids and as adults. And I want them to know that no matter what happens, like that I'm there for them. And those are the three things. And like, yeah, it's not necessarily limited to just those three things, but that's those are my three words.
Okay, cool. So thing number one that we expanded on is basically, is good enough? Is 60-70% good enough for you? And how would 100% look like for you? What is that 100% looking like? And then from there you go and say, okay, what are the three qualities that I want to carry forward for my children now, especially when it's quiet in the home and I can look at, okay, how can I make them feel more seen, more safe, and more supported? Or in a challenging, conflictful situation at home, how can I make them feel more seen, more supported, and more safe right now? What can I do? And that's from where you kind of like go and do that behavioral change within yourself in order to embody these qualities with your children so you actually get where you want to go. So clarity.
Yep.
I love that one. You know, it's a really good one. Okay, cool. Do you have two more for me?
Yeah, I mean, so the other two that come to mind, where there just really is so like much potential to make a big difference in like a short amount of time. The next one is working on listening. That's such, it's hard to even describe the difference that it can make. And you can see it in your kids' body language, especially when you're this busy dad and your kids are used to kind of getting like the leftover energy, right? Like if you're a successful father and you're working long hours, like it takes a lot of energy. And I believe that like we only have so much like energetic units in our body within a given day. And like if we're draining the battery at work and like we come home, like the kids are kind of just getting like whatever's left over. And they learn that and they feel that. But like when we can be really intentional with being a good listener, with giving our kids like our presence and our awareness, they light up. And it's like we need to be specific about it, because there's a lot of times it's so easy to pick any distraction and to try to like do two things simultaneously. Like I'm going to listen to my kid while I like, I don't know, keep an eye on the football game, or like keep an eye on whatever's on my phone, or like mentally I'm solving some work problem that's probably going to come up tomorrow while my kid's trying to like communicate something to me. But like when we work on being a better listener in these small little moments, and again, it can make such a difference so quickly, because if our kids have gotten accustomed to getting this like depleted version of us for a long time, as soon as they get this other version where like the dad's like, okay, like, oh, I've worked on this. This is like one of those moments where like I'm going to put my phone away and I'm going to click the TV off, and I'm going to tell myself I'll mentally type my email like later. Like I'm going to like give all my focus to my kid here now. And like they're going, like our kids, they stand different and like they talk, and like, you know, working with a dad where it's like, hey, just like listen. And like, maybe you can ask some curious questions, but like, maybe you don't say anything, like don't teach, like, don't tell the story about yourself when you were a kid, like just listen. And like the kid will like say something, and then there'll be like a pause, and then the kid starts talking again. They're like, oh, I get to keep going. Like it's not a big lift on the dad's part to be able to experience this, but like from the kid's perspective, it's radically different than anything that they've experienced from their dad for such a long time. And so I love leaning into the qualities of being like a good listener and being a deep listener with our kids, because again, like the results can be seen like almost immediately.
Yeah, very gratifying when we are able as fathers to really become present in that moment when our child asks us to be present, because for them the only thing that they are is present. They're, as you said, until 7 to 9 they're in a hypnotical state of awareness, state of brainwaves, and they're just absorbing they are present anywhere, anything. They are not thinking about anything, they are just being. And once we can meet them there, and we can go down to their level and be at that same frequency of presence and being with them, and they just light up and just like, wow, Daddy, you're here with me. I gotta tell a quick story. The other day we were at the hot springs, and I had a little bit of mushrooms, psilocybin, just a little microdose, and then my daughter invited me into a wooden playhouse. And at first, my automatic brain was like, nah, man, I'm not going to sit in there. And then my curiosity in my heart was like, yo, let's see what's going to happen when I sit in there. So we sat in there for like easily half an hour, and we were like baking bread and making cookies and like cleaning up the house. And she was so present with me. She was seeing how present I was, and her whole heart was just like open. So connected. The entire day she was cuddling with me. She was so close. And so that moment, I think, is really important to underline, for the reason being that I think that as you said, the listening and the presence is such a gift to the children that the change is immediate. So it's very gratifying. It's easy to train that behavior into a man's brain, because that's all the brain is looking for, right? Reinforcement of the behavior through gratification. So yeah, man,
that's cool.
That one was a really good one. Cool.
And you almost missed it. Like in your story, Tomas, it was hanging by a thread there. And like you even like mentally said no, which is like another really interesting like thing that any dad that's listening to this, pay attention, like moving forward, like when your kids ask you something, to like the reflexive response that comes up, like before it even like leaves your mouth, like, because there are so many dads, and I've been guilty of this before, where it's like you've got no, like sometimes no comes out of your mouth like before your brain even fires up, and it's like, well, why? Like, why does it have to be no? Like, what if you ever seen the movie Yes Day?
Yeah,
it's on Netflix. It's fun. But like, what if we said yes to everything? And I'm not suggesting like that we should. Like, I know kids need boundaries and we can't just give them everything. But like, what if you defaulted with yes, and then like in the moments where it was appropriate, you would walk it back to a no. Like, and that's I'll issue that as a challenge for anybody that's hearing this. Like, try to do that for the next 24 to 48 hours and just try to catch yourself. And you might be surprised at the percentage of time where your reflexive response is no. And I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong, but I would want you to ask yourself if you're happy with whatever your rate of no is. Like, does that suit you? Like, does that embody the type of dad that you want to be? And only they know that answer.
Beautiful. I love the challenge, making it even more applicable. I really love where we're going towards the end here, with these 3 very specific ones. So let me know, do you have another one?
Yeah. And it's working on ourselves as a dad. It's like, I call it like the fatherhood backpack. And it's like, it's unpacking all of the stuff that's in there and like pulling it out and kind of setting it on the table and like looking around and being like, okay, like those items over there are really useful. Like, I'm going to keep those, but like maybe they're really good. And I'm going to like be intentional, and I'm going to do more of those things. And then it's kind of looking at like a lot of the things that maybe aren't working so well. And so maybe there's like a tweak, like with my automatic responses, where like instead of it being automatically no, it's going to be automatically yes. And that's like kind of in like the middle zone, like where it's like, I don't have to throw it out, but I want to change like how I'm using this. And like, then you've got the stuff that's like on the edge of the table where it's like, I don't even want to like look at that stuff. And like a lot of times it's like what was handed down to us generationally, right? And this is not to like put blame on our fathers, because if we did learn something from our fathers, they learned it somewhere else along the way, right? Okay, it's like, and it's not to blame our grandfathers either, right? It's like nobody came up with these like habits or patterns of ways of handling situations that like can be really painful. Like, nobody sat around and is like, oh, I think this would be a great way to handle emotions or stress and conflict, is like to just emotionally shut down and push people away and like not ever talk about things. Like, I think like that's I joke about it, like nobody would ever like be looking at a menu of like qualities of like of a father, and they'd be like, oh, like that one sounds
emotional
good.
shutdown, that's great.
Sign me up for emotional shutdown, please. So like it comes from somewhere. And again, we've already talked about like how as kids we learn, we mirror what we see our parents do. So it's looking at these things that, again, they're really close to us because we've learned them from such a young age and we've acted in a certain way that it just feels natural. But like when you go through and do this work and you can actually start to shine a light on some of these things, it's like, oh, whoa, like, okay, no, like I have no interest on passing that down to my kids. So then it's like, okay, cool. Glad you know that now. Like now let's put a plan in place to where like you're going to notice this, you're going to catch it, you're going to make a different response, and you're going to start to build that muscle. And like over time, like you're going to see this thing coming down the road now, and you're going to like almost laugh inside. You're like, like I've
Not gonna
been
happen.
here, done this. Like I see this thing coming, and I know exactly what to do now. And like when you start to get that vision of like, and it's especially helpful again, like during the stressful, high emotional moments. Like when you're able to see things coming down the road, you're like, nope, not today. Been there, done that. Don't want to do it that way anymore. I'm going to zig instead of zagging. Like I'll speak for myself, although I know it's true for the other dads that I work with. It's like you walk away from that moment and you feel like you just, I don't know, pick your sports metaphor, like scored a touchdown, hit a grand slam, scored a goal, whatever, made a 3-pointer. It's like, it's so fulfilling and gratifying to know that something that would have been such a pitfall and something so negative, maybe to the point to where it even caused you to like need to go back and repair things after the fact. So like it could have gone that way, but like you went another way and you found a way to like make your kid feel like safe and understood during like a high conflict moment. It's like, oh my God, like I'm on top of the world. Like, and then like, of course, like when you experience that, like that builds. And so I would say that is another like really high value experience that we go through in the work that we do.
Wow. 3 very powerful things. I'm gonna start at number 3. Do the work. Look at what's there, what you want to keep, and what you want to get rid of. Make a plan on how to do that and start doing. Number 2, we spoke about presence and listening. How gratifying it is to see a change in the very moment when you start practicing that. And then number 1 is basically the overarching of like the clarity of like, who do I want to be as a father? What does a good dad actually mean? Is good enough? 60, 70% good enough? Or do I want to go 100%? How does that look like? And that really dials in the journey for us that we go on. And that's the journey I assume that you are taking fathers on, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So help me understand a little bit more, just briefly, like what do you do? How do you do that? Where do you do it?
Yeah. So the easiest way if somebody wanted to get in contact with me would be through social media. So on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, it's at the Engaged Father Project. So like feel free to send me a direct message there if you feel like chatting. I also, about 2 months ago, I started the Engaged Father Project community, which is on school.com, and that's SKOOL. And it's a free community. There's just under 90 dads in there right now. And we're doing like daily challenges, and we do like, weekly calls. Like we just had a call yesterday that was incredible, where we were talking about like the difference between intention versus expectation, and like how walking into a situation with our kids with having expectations can like set us up for failure. But like when we have a clear intention going in with our kids, like how that can supersede everything. And like it was like it's not like a lecture. It's like these are interactive calls with people in the community, and people are sharing like their very real like experiences, and they're awesome. And so if somebody is hearing this conversation today and they're like, I want to take a step in that direction, like by all means come join the school community. There's really cool stuff happening in there. And then I do offer, like paid coaching packages as well. So like I run group cohorts that launch about every 3 months. And then I do one-on-one coaching as well. So like depending on the dad and like what their appetite is for something, there are options there. And I would say like, if you want to, there's so much value to be had by joining the community there. Like I really work hard to have that be like just a value driven proposition for the people that are showing up there. But like if someone is like, what, like I do want to get better, but like I want to see like big results, and I want to do it in a short amount of time, and I want it to be structured, and I want somebody to be like leading me through this like one step at a time, then like that's where the direct coaching comes in.
Awesome. All links will obviously be in the description and show notes for anyone interested dropping in there into the school community. I had a look at it. It looked really nice. Looked really good. Yeah. And then, cool. Last but not least, I have a closing statement. So I'm watching Suits right now with my wife. I don't know if you've ever watched Suits. It's a show on Netflix about lawyers and a very specific lawyer, and so they in court they have a closing statement in front of the jury to make to bring it all home. Okay, to bring the entire argument home. So what I'm prompting you to do is to have your closing statement in the way of how do you want to bring this episode home, and what is the one most important thing that you want to bring to the hearts of fathers today?
Well, I would say that the opportunity that we have as fathers is massive. And, you know, we will leave a legacy, whether we do it intentionally or if we just sort of autopilot our way through this. And I feel that there's incredible value clearly in like doing this work for our family so we can feel it in the moment. But if nothing else, I want to help dads not feel this massive burden of regret that is waiting for you later in life when your kids grow up and they leave the house. If we don't get serious about this now and we don't step into the role of being a father that we know that we can be, what's waiting for us is a bunch of pain and regret. And don't take my word for it. Like, go talk to dads that are in their 60s and 70s, especially ones that were extremely work focused. And their pain is real. And they may even say something like, Jon, what I wouldn't give to go back and to be able to do things differently. And so I'm not willing to be in that situation. And I'll tell you where I'm going to be. It's every time I envision this, I'm sitting on a dock and the water's, you know, kind of glassy still, and there's some trees in the background and the sun is setting. And I'm looking back on these like busy, hectic years of my life when my kids are young. And I am just grinning ear to ear because I know I left it all out on the field. I showed up in a way that I'm proud of, and I did it with intention. And I'm just so glad that I did. And when I compare that future of mine with some of the stories that I hear from other dads, I'm encouraging you, whether it's working with me or doing your own research and making these changes, whatever it is, just don't miss this opportunity, because the window is going to close faster than you think that it will. If you think you have until your kids are 18 to do this work, I'm sorry, but you're mistaken. Like, most of the meaningful time that you have with your kids is going to be gone by the time they turn 13 or 14. And so if your kids are creeping up on that age, lean in and make the change, and you can thank me later.
Wow. Jon, thank you for your time. Thank you for your intentionality today. Thank you for free flowing with me through this conversation and for making an impact in that way. I truly appreciate you being here. And with that being said,
I've loved every second of it, Tomas.
Awesome. And with that being said, I want to say thank you to everyone listening. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of The Integrated Father, to get today with Jon Hord, the founder of the Engaged Father Project. What a special guest, everyone. I'm looking so forward to the next episode. And with that being said, have a lovely and blessed day.